Hey everybody, I'm back to tell you a little bit more of the story. Okay, so the last time I was on here, I was telling you about me being locked up in prison and how the king's some of the king's men. Hang on, let me fix my thing here again. I don't know what's going on with this. I keep having trouble with this. But anyway, I was in the king's prison down in the dungeon, and some of the king's men, the butler and the baker had come in. I interpreted their dreams. They went back, and if you remember, I told you that the butler got hanged, and the baker got hanged, and the butler he got restored back to his job. So, but he forgot me. That was the main thing I wanted to let y'all know. He forgot me, and so I was in prison for another 2 years, as you hear on SpongeBob. 2 years later. 2 years later, I'm still in jail, y'all. And so, in prison. And so, after those 2 years later, the Pharaoh himself, the king, he had a dream. And in his dream, he was standing by the river. This is what he dreamed. He stood by a river. The only reason I know is because he told me later on. But he was standing by the river, and coming out of the river was 7 kine, or cows, we'll say. 7 kine came up out of the river, fat and you know, good fat cows, you know, in good shape. As you were hearing in the scriptures, people talking about killing the fatted calf, you know. So these are the good ones. 7 of them come up out of the water, and they went over and they start grazing in the meadow, they, you know, feeding in the meadow. Okay, but then after that, 7 lean kine came up out of the water, and they went and stood next to the 7 fat kine. Now, the lean kine, they're still cows, and the lean kine ate up the fat kine. And you know, cows don't really eat meat. You know, they eat grass. But these kine, I don't know, cannibals or something, I don't know. These kine, they ate up the fat kine. The 7 thin ones ate up the 7 fat ones. 7 lean ones ate up the 7 fat ones. And you couldn't tell by after they ate them, you couldn't tell that they ate them because they were still skinny like they was, you know, before they ate them. You know, when they first came up out of the water, they're still skinny like that. And then Pharaoh woke up. And then he dozed back off, had a second dream. Now on this one, on 7 fat ears of corn came up on one stalk. On one corn stalk, 7 ears came up. Fat, juicy corn. Boy, I like corn too. And anyway, 7 ears popped up, you know, came up on it. And then sprouting up right next to it was another stalk came up with 7 thin ears blasted with the east wind, you know, really skinny, you know, not healthy ears of corn. And the 7 skinny ears of corn ate up the 7 fat ears of corn. And after it ate up the 7 fat ears of corn, it was still skinny. You couldn't tell that it had eaten up the 7 fat ears. And then 7 fat ears, sorry. And so Pharaoh woke up. And so in the morning, Pharaoh, his spirit bothered him. He was like, man, what are these dreams about? You know, so he called all his magicians and all his wise men and all of Egypt. He called them all, and he told his dream to him. And he said, what is the interpretation of this dream? He wanted the interpretation thereof. But you know, somebody tell you a dream like that, what does this dream mean? You over there like, cricket, cricket, cricket. Everybody just looking around like, we don't know what that dream means. You know, and all of his wise men and all of his magicians and stuff, they couldn't figure out what the dream was. So, you know, by this time, the butler was there, you know, the one that gives Pharaoh the cup, the one that was in the prison with me. He was there, and he heard what was going on. He heard about the dream and everything. And so he was like, now I remember my thoughts today. He said, now I'm just now remembering, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we was in the prison. You was upset with us. You put us in the prison. While we was in the prison, we had a dream. Me and your baker, your chief baker, we was in the jail prison together. And while we was in there, we both had a dream in one night. The same night, we both had a dream. And there was a young man, Hebrew man down in there, in the jail with us. He was a servant of the captain of the guard. And he came, he was serving us. And we told him our dream. And he interpreted our dreams according to the interpretation. And so it came to pass that it happened just the way he interpreted it. So basically, his dream was that he was going to get hung, and my dream was that I returned to my job. And so, sure enough, within those 3 days, you returned me, you lifted up our heads, and you brought me back to my job, and him, you hanged. So the Pharaoh was like, bring this man, because see, he was like, man, I can't believe ain't nobody in Egypt who can interpret my dream. So he was still bothered. And so he was like, bring Joseph out of here, bring him out. So they called me, had me, the king wants to see you. What do you want to see me for? What I do? You know what I'm saying? King wants to see you. Bring you on out. Pharaoh wants you. Okay. So I got to come out, man. Hey, you can't just go to the Pharaoh, in front of the king dressed like you fresh out. You can't go in there with your prison suit on. You know what I'm saying? So I got to change clothes. I got to shave. Man, I was fresh to death again. Got some nice clothes, boy. Come out. Yeah, sir. Standing in front of the king. What's going on, sir? How can I help you? What did I do? I'm trying to figure out what I did. What did I do, Lord? This must be my day. I'm going to die since I was on death row. And the king said, I had a dream. And he said that, and I told it to all the my magicians and all the wise men in Egypt, and none of them could interpret the dream. But I heard that you are able to interpret dreams. And I was like, well, no, it's not within me to interpret the dreams, but my God, he's the interpreter. He can interpret dreams. And so basically I asked, when I said that, he began to just start telling me the dream. So he was like, okay, this is what I dreamed. He said, I was standing by a river, and 7 fat kine came up out of the river, and they was feeding in the meadow, eating in the meadow. And then right behind them, 7 thin kine came up out of the river and stood next to the fat kine. And then the thin kine ate up the fat kine, but the thin kine was still thin. You know what I'm saying? And you couldn't even tell that they ate the fat kine. They were still thin. And then I woke up. And then in my dream, I had one stalk with 7 fat ears of corn sprout up. With seven ears of corn, fat and juicy ears of corn, basically. Then another sprout up right behind it, and it had 7 withered ears and blasted with the east wind. And the withered ears ate up the fat ears. And you couldn't tell that it ate it up because it was still withered. The 7 withered ears ate up the 7 fat ears, and you still couldn't tell because they were still withered, when they got through eating. And so he looked at me, he was like, I told this to all my, I'm going to say magistrates, magicians and my wise men, and none of them could interpret it. So I said, okay, the dream that you had is 1. Okay, the 7 fat kine and the 7 fat ears of corn are, the 7 fat kine and the 7 fat ears of corn are 1. The dream is 1. God just doubled it to you. But okay, the 7 fat ears of corn and the 7 fat kine are 7 years. The dream is 1. And then the 7 skinny kine and the 7 withered ears blasted with the east wind are 7 years. So this is what's going on. God has doubled the dream to show you that it's important. God is showing you what he's about to do. Okay? So he said, so I'm saying that the 7 fat kine is going to be 7 years of plenty. 7 fat kine and the 7 fat ears of corn is going to be 7 years of plenty. in all the land of Egypt. 7 years, plenty of food in all the land of Egypt. You know, so basically everything's going to prosper. Everything's going to be prosperous for 7 years. And then, but then right behind that, you got 7 lean kine and 7 withered ears with blasted by the east wind. That's going to be 7 years of famine. So you got the 7 years of plenty, and you got prosperity or plenty, and you got the 7 years of famine coming right behind it. Okay, so God he doubled the dream to show you that it was important that it was by from God to show you what He's gonna do. There's gonna come 7 years of plenty, and right behind it is gonna come 7 years of famine, and the famine is gonna eat up the land. It's gonna make it to where you can't. It's gonna be so bad that nobody's gonna remember the 7 years of plenty. That's how bad it's gonna be. Ain't nobody gonna be like, man, remember we had all that food. They ain't gonna be thinking about that. People gonna be just trying to survive. That's how bad the famine is gonna be. So this is what you should do, Pharaoh. You should get a man who's wise, wise. You know what I'm saying, and discreet, and put him over all the land of Egypt, and have him collect 20%. Or a fifth of all the stuff that comes in the land of plenty, the time of the plenty. So in the 7 first years of plenty, have him collect 20% of all the harvest that comes in and store it up so that we'll have food for the 7 years of famine. That way, the land won't perish during the famine, because the famine is going to be that bad. Is going to, 7 years of dark is going to be really bad, so you won't even remember. So you need to save up at least 20% or 1/5 of everything that comes in on the years of harvest, so that the years of famine won't destroy the land. And so the Pharaoh, he liked what he heard. He was like, wow, that's awesome. Now, before I get into what the Pharaoh did and all that I'm still trying to keep it a little short, so I'm gonna say this, and then I'll come back on another video and tell you how the Pharaoh responded. But basically, anytime that you have, because if you remember, I said when you are with God, you become prosperous, and if you're not prospering, see, because God never leaves you or forsake you. So, but if you're not prospering, that means you need to get closer to God. Okay, so basically, I'm telling Pharaoh what he should do about this. And so anytime you have a problem, if somebody comes to you with a problem, or let's say you're on your job and there's a problem in your department, and you bring it to the boss's attention. Hey, we got this problem over here. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can do that. Anybody can come to you and say, hey, here's the problem. Anybody can say, here's the problem. Oh, I'm having this problem in my life. Oh, I'm struggling with that in my life. There's a lot of people, if you look around you, there's a lot of people who are struggling. They come to you and say, hey, can you help me? Because I'm having this problem in my life. And most of the time, it's a money problem. We're not prospering. we don't got enough money to pay the rent. We don't got enough money to do this or do that. Hey, you got any gas money? Or can you take me over here because I don't have a car? Can you, whatever it might be. There's problems that pop up all the time, of course, but, anybody can come up to you with a problem, but not many people come with a solution. So this is what you need to be doing. Anytime there's a problem, don't just show up to the boss man or whoever it is you're going to and say, hey, we're having this problem. Show up with them and have a solution to the problem. Okay? This is one of the ways that you prosper, that God prospers a person. Show up and say, hey, this is the problem, but this right here is the solution to the problem. Okay? Present the solution also, not just the problem. Okay? And so that's what I was doing with the Pharaoh. I came to the Pharaoh. When I got to the Pharaoh, oh yeah, then I got to put the clothes on, but I was fresh again, boy. I was fresh to death. Boy, I'm telling you, I was clothes was busting. Anyway, so I got to the Pharaoh, and he told me the dream. I gave him the interpretation of the dream. Then I told him what he should do with it. I told him, hey, get you a man who's wise and discreet. Put him over the land of Egypt. Let him get some officers to help him out and collect the 5th part of all the harvest that comes in during the years of plenty. so that you can save it up and use it during the years of famine so that the land won't perish, so that people won't die. You know, you got to try to help people. And another thing I want to add to that right before I jump off here is your plan has to be more than, oh, this is what I plan to do this month or this year. Your plan, if you notice, it was 7 years of plenty, and then there was 7 years of dearth, or 7 years of famine. So basically the plan had to work for at least 14 years to get past this problem. Some problems are a little long-term. They're not just what you do this year is going to change everything. Sometimes it takes a while to get there. Okay, so you can't give up on what the plan is. You can't just say, oh, the plan didn't work because it didn't work this month, and then just throw the plan to the side and go back to doing what you was doing before, because then you will not be prepared for when the famine comes. And yes, hard times will come in your life. Don't act like you didn't know it was coming. Okay, if you get a car and it's a nice running car, if you're not keeping the car up and taking care of it, sooner or later, this car will break down. Don't act like, oh, I didn't know it was going to break down. Okay? You're going to have some hard times. You get married, you get a significant other, or what have you. There's going to be some times that there's going to be bumps in the road. Your relationship ain't going to just run real smooth all the time unless you're working on it. When problems pop up, you're supposed to be working on it. You know what I'm saying? You got to take preventative measures. Put a little oil in the car when it needs some. You know what I'm saying? You got to do some things. Tell her you love her every so often. You know what I'm saying? Help her out around the house sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Do a little something to keep your marriage or your car or whatever the thing is that you're trying to keep going or keep up. You know, you got to have some type of plan. You can't just wait until things happen and then be like, oh, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know that was going to happen. You can't do that. Because then all you will have is it look like things, you know, time after time, right back to back, bad things just happening and happening. You like, I don't know why I'm going through all this mess. Why is everything happening to me? It's because you didn't prepare for none of it. And as long as you're not prepared, all the bad things are going to set you back, and your life will fall apart like dominoes. It'll be one thing right after another. Just keep on bap. Things is falling right behind each other because you're not prepared for any of it. So you have to start prepared. Even if things are bad right now, you have to start preparing to make it good. Make it good, and then once it's good, keep preparing for more and more and more and more, because more bad things will come. But if you prepared for it, it's not so hard of a bump in the road. You know what I'm saying? You run out of gas and you got plenty of gas money, it's not that much of a problem. You just got to get to the gas station, get you some gas. Okay? You run out of gas and you ain't got no money, you looking at walking home, especially if you ain't got no bus money or anything. You looking at walking home. You looking at calling your friends and trying to see if they got some money, or your family members. And if they ain't got no money, you looking at your car getting towed away. Then you're looking at not being able to get back and forth to work. You know, then you're looking at maybe losing your place because you didn't get no hours and enough hours to pay your rent. You know, it's a domino effect. You have to be prepared. Okay? And so since I took so long, you know, throwing that in, I'll come back and tell you guys how the Pharaoh responded to, and yes, he did like it. He did like what I said. So how he responded and what he did about the interpretation of the dream that he had. All right. Love you guys. God bless you. See you next time. Bye.